Hello, this is Richard Orwig, and I'd like to do a brief introduction to the Management System Support uh, class. This is the overarching conceptual model that I use to guide us through the semester. So it's a business analysis model for information systems class. The uh, slide is basically just one slide capturing the whole semester. Uh, First part of the semester is going to be this top row. The second part of the semester will be this middle row. And then the last half of the semester basically will be your term paper working on this bottom layer, which is describing technologies that will support business activities, which indeed support the overall organizational or business strategy. So if you look at this framework, you can look at it in terms of three rows. The row up here at the top, middle row, and the bottom row. Uh, the top row is really the organizational strategic layer. You have the or viewpoint. So this would be top management viewpoint of organizational strategy, developing the vision, mission, goals, and objectives. The middle layer is where most of the people work, managerial views of business activities or work practices that support the organizational vision. And these are models in some regards of the work practices or business activities. So for example, if you were a manufacturer, you would have this root activity that says produce bicycles, say if you were a bicycle manufacturer. So your output would be bicycles. The whole activity would be whatever activities go into producing quality bicycles. That may be buying bicycle parts. That would be assembling them or building them, creating the parts, the modules of the bicycle. It would be involved with the marketing and sales and distribution of bicycles. It might get into the support, the managerial support, the accounting, finance, the other aspect, the overhead activities potentially. Each one of those activities further decompose. So if you just focus, say, on the acquisition of parts, you might decompose that into further detail. Locating vendors, comparing prices, purchasing, uh, receiving the shipment, storing them in the warehouse. Those would be all activities that would be part of the acquisition process. Comparing prices, you could even go further with that. You might identify the possible vendors, compare the attributes of each of those products to see what their quality are. So the point is you can just keep decomposing these activities in this model. And these are all business activities. So these are activities that you, as you're learning here as a business major, to perform. So in the marketing side, you're going to do studies. There are going to be activities here that pertain to marketing. These all work together to, of course, do what you need to do to perform and make bicycles. So those are managerial activities. Again, and these activities support the strategy of the organization. The bottom layer is the technical layer. Those are the applications and the programs that are used to support the business activities. So, for example, I have them upside down here because there's going to be a meeting or a mapping of these two. That's what business analytics is all about, is how do you match the appropriate technologies to optimize their use with the business activities. So just for an example, you might think of Microsoft Office that might have decomposed into Excel, Word, PowerPoint. Microsoft Office. Yeah, you might have Access, Excel, PowerPoint, those programs. Each of those programs have functions or capabilities, and those capabilities might even decompose into further capabilities, but modules that will then support the various activities. So in doing procurement and marketing, you're all probably going to use Microsoft Word in some regards. And so there would be this mapping that goes between the technology and the business activity set. So that's the trick, is understanding the business activities in a way that we can map the supporting business technologies into those activities. So that captures the vertical. If you remember, this is the high-level vice president's CEO, CIO level of understanding the business strategy. This is the managerial layer that supports that strategy, then the business form of business activities. And this is the technical layer that supports those business activities. So it's increasing detail as you go down here. The bottom layer supports the business layer, and the business layer, of course, supports the strategy. And then the magic, of course, is how do you manage the change to get to the to-be world? So the to-be world is this vision where all of these business activities more closely align to the vision, mission, goals, and objectives of the organization. So you're trying to make the company always more efficient or effective in meeting that vision, mission, and goals. So the measurements that go along with the support of this strategy, you try to figure out some measurable objectives to know if you really indeed are becoming more closely aligned to what everyone agrees on. Again, this is some consensus on what the strategy should be and how to get there. Similarly, with the rub here and the difficulty is getting the alignment of the technologies to this new set of business activities. This would be a little mini vision of what the activities would look like in the future. Which may have influence on the technology may influence how some of these activities are performed, as well as the decision making that goes into that. So you took Information Systems 174, the Database Systems Analysis and Design. The databases or technologies are going to support the decision making of these activities. The project of getting to where the current database technology is, it may, if it exists at all, most likely in today's organizations, there are several, to this new database system is an information systems project. So this little arrow here is a systems analysis and design. This is the development lifecycle, kind of the concept of how we technologists get from where we are to where we need to be. So if you look at this arrow, this is Information Systems 174. So this management support systems class takes the bigger scope of how do you really connect technology to business activities. In order to do that, we have to come up with ways of documenting and getting some consensus on what the business activities are. So we'll do a little IDEF 0 is the main driver for this, but there are various other business activities that can be used. But this is the simplest one and the one I find the most productive. And then before we get to that business activity modeling, we'll go ahead and start off with understanding some strategies which should map into your business policy class fairly well, understanding organizational strategy. So that's the course for the semester. The first step is to memorize what this is, of course, but I would hope that you would be able to explain it yourself. So there is if you were going to do some practice, you could have a piece of paper, just number 1 through 9, come up with the labels that these numbers represent. And then once you've got them memorized, then you can start memorizing the definitions and put those along. So you could have a 2-column piece of paper with the identification and the definition of what each of these numbers do. And there's a Word document on Blackboard that is an example of what that might look like. So that's the overarching explanation. Please bring questions to class, but go ahead and start memorizing, and I hope by the end of the semester you'll have this pretty well understood and be a management support systems expert. So thank you for your time. See you in class.